Okay, good evening, folks. Dr. Freedom here with you. Time some Doctor News from in and around the Whovians that may just make you go, "Oh, baby, that's it. Give me more. I gotta have more Dr. Freedom." Oh, yeah. But okay, now as you all know, people are freaking out, claiming there's going to be a delay, blah blah blah. They're not going to have Doctor Who till 2021, blah blah blah, and all that. And it's like, so far we've got at least 2 months to when they were scheduled to begin filming. And it's like, why are we panicking now? That's one of the big questions that's been going around in my brain. Unless there's sudden upsurge in COVID and all that, they're still putting procedures together so they can get a lot of their productions back and going and all that. So, plus, as I said before, you've already got productions going back before the camera this month, like Keeping Faith. There's others that have already been back in production for a while. Look, there's my TARDIS Magazines. And it's like, but here's another thing that's been disturbing me, okay? Because I got to say this before we get into the heart of the video. You ever notice lately when you watch a video, the first thing they go is, please give us a thumbs up for this video and subscribe within the first, 30 seconds? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. What if your video sucks? It's like, that means you get an instant interaction. You get a subscribe on your counter. It's going to up your algorithm. But what if your video is a pile of shit? It's like, so I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Let's get into stuff you want to see. All right. Because here we go. Let's start right off the bat. Bam. UK broadcasters add fresh production guidelines for COVID era. Now, some of these productions have been saying, like Batman and the major motion pictures, said they were given the clearance possibly as early back in May to go ahead and start, and resume production. And it's like, most of them, of course, said, no, we're going to sit back and wait and see what happens. But, of course, now Batman's going back for the cameras very soon, Keeping Faith, and a bunch of other things are already filming. Now, this 5-page document they're talking about here adds to the guidance published in May, and it's going to basically cover what's called close contact cohorts and weekly testing for the group. And what they're saying is they're going to increase, right, it says here, the screening regime proposed will decrease the likelihood that someone with the virus will be within this particular group. And what they're doing is they're going to have a test group and all that. Basically, you're going to probably have to take some testing before you come into the filming environment. Or at least that's the gist of what I got. Also known as the bubble approach, all right? So, it says right here, let's go to the spokes guy. Getting TV production back up and running safely is our priority. The BBC has already produced popular shows during the lockdown following social distancing, from Have I Got News for You to Talking Heads. But if we were to get back to producing the range and quality of programs that the public love, which reflect real-life interactions, we're going to need film scenes and shows where people are closer than 2 meters apart. There will be increased screening for these groups alongside daily symptom checks, and close contact periods would be restricted to on-set. Close contact groups will be asked to follow social distancing rules during the time between an antigen test and their arrival on set, as well as observing social distancing in their daily life during the filming period. We'll keep this advice under review if the situation changes. So basically what they're saying is, guess what, kids? They're coming up with guidelines so they can get shit back before cameras. And I don't know why everybody was panicking to begin with, because unless there's a massive upsurge, then okay, we could be dealing with a delay in filming for Doctor Who and other programs. But come on, filming wasn't due to begin until September. A lot of us knew this, yet they're all, it's going to be delayed, running around like Chicken Little on acid, screaming that the sky is falling. Meanwhile, it was probably just some bad meth he got from, what's his name, that weirdo from Breaking Bad. But all right, that's just me. Let's move forward. All right, Doctor Who's cleverest uses of code names. Now, for a lot of you folks who aren't aware, now most of us who've been in the new era know all about the whole code name game they do. Like when they started filming Doctor Who, the very first series, back with Eccleston and, of course, Billy Piper, it was being filmed under the code name Torchwood, which is an anagram of Doctor Who. And it's all, of course, as we all know, Torchwood went on to become its own thing. Now, sorry, my brain blanked out there. When Karen Gillan was auditioning for the role of Amy Pond, they put it under the name Panic Moon, which is, of course, an anagram of companion. And this just goes over a bunch of the ones they've used here and there. Like nobody, like right here. Here's one we all spotted off the bat back in the 12th series was a character called Fake Out, played by Barack Stemis, which means fake out. And if you rearrange these letters, it get master is back. So well, a lot of us figured that one out right away. Plus, I'd been told like a year before that Sasha Dewan was going to be back on the show as the master. And as we all know, Sasha Dewan originally also played, Waris Hussein in An Adventure in Space and Time. So just if you want a clever little thing here on some of the, where they talk a bit about some of the code names and stuff like that they've used over the years, it's kind of a nifty article by the Radio Times. The Quarantine Stream, Doctor Who is a compassionate sci-fi series that doesn't really care about the sci-fi part. And it's just a nice article here, basically talking about, where since Doctor Who's coming to HBO Max, and it goes through it here and there. And I love this. Here's my favorite part. But despite the fact that the change is built into the show's DNA, Doctor Who has always been inarguably Doctor Who. That's because no matter how many times it reinvents itself, Doctor Who is at its core a sci-fi series about love and empathy. It has a protagonist who sometimes acts a little too cold and alien, but who cares so deeply that they will inspire those around him to show the best of humanity. It's hopelessly sentimental and optimistic, but don't we need a little bit of that nowadays? That's why I laugh in the face of anybody who gets to me and says, Jodie's series is too virtual signaling. It's like, if you got to use terms like virtue signaling or SJW, which stands for me, so stupid jackass wacko. Matter of fact, I'm going to start using that term more often, but that's what's going to mean to me is stupid jackass wackos. Because if this is what that means, you're actually just going to look for shit wrong at this point, where you come up with cute phrases, because this is the heart and soul of Doctor Who and the way it's been for 57 years. Oy vey. They're getting too preachy about the environmental shit. At 2, Planet of Giants, Green Death, hell, Genesis of the Daleks about fascism and eugenics. They're hidden political messages. Okay, this is something I've talked about 100 times. There's more to Geek Fandom than just ride or die or nothing. Basically, what it's talking about is, how I'm not I'm not happy with the term superfan. And this basically is what it talks about. If you scroll down here a bit, so you have the time and energy to watch the entire history of Star Trek, Doctor Who, and so elaborate cosplays of your favorite characters and keep up with the new episodes the day they came out. Good for you. Does this make you more a fan than others who don't have the same luxury of time? Nope. And that's one thing I like to emphasize with people. That's why I hate the term superfan. Because to me, if you're a fan of a show, you're a fan of a show. Just because you have 5,000 TARDISes in your house, or just because you got more dolls than anybody else from such and such a series, or just because you look great in a cosplay outfit, doesn't make you a bigger fan than the person who loves the show as much as you do. You see, that's one, or, I used to joke around about people who started with a new series, and people used to get really mad about it, because I'd say, if you start with a new series, you're a Whoobie. And they took me seriously, unfortunately. And it's like, no, if you started watching, even halfway through the modern series, I still consider you to be as big a fan as somebody who's been watching since 63. Sure, you're a lot younger probably, but hey, that means you're just going to be less time for your pooping in a bag. And, oh, well, that's a whole other thing. Okay, now this is a theory that's been running around forever, and it's pretty interesting, and that is they're going into the theory that what if Susan was the timeless child, and this was all a cover, with the Doctor being set up in the Matrix and saying, okay, the Doctor is the timeless child. What if it was really Susan, and that's why they had to leave Gallifrey, and it's been a big secret, especially why the Doctor's never revisited her on screen, even though he's done it a bunch of times in Big Finish, which is why I think that's one of the reasons why you're never going to see Carol Ann Ford back on screen in the role, because once again, top secret handshaking is going on behind closed doors. And I think that's my theory on it. Okay, TARDIS Magazines have been released. The new TARDIS Magazines were released by the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. They announced in June the return of the original Doctor Who fanzine called TARDIS, and the first edition of TARDIS predates Doctor Who Appreciation Society itself and was published in 1975, with the last edition to date being released back in 2003. The new magazine with 60 color pages marks the start of the 17th volume, and this content is all listed right here as to what's in it. So, all right, here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Here's all the details you need to get a hold of it. The magazine available to all fans for £8.99 and a UK delivery via the blah blah the WDBS WTWAS eBay shop. And your Appreciation Society members get to receive a 25% discount, yada, yada, yada. So all the details you need if you want to get a hold of it are right down there. All right, 100 Objects of Doctor Who. Kenny Jar Books have announced a new nonfiction book collecting together facts and opinions from all 57 years of the rich history of Doctor Who. So here's a little synopsis of it. And if you want to get a hold of it, 100 Objects of Doctor Who is currently available to order from the Candy Jar website, which you can reach from right here on the page. All right, so once again, it looks like the BBC is going to buckle down and put together some guidelines so they can get TV productions back and running. Wow, is that Tom Baker's head right there? Okay, oh yeah, it wasn't. Sorry, I'm using a virtual background if you haven't figured out. See, there's no green screen, so that's one of the big downfalls of it, but I think it's fun. It's a nice, fun effect to play with. So before we all panic, as I said before, and I've told this to a lot of people, a lot can happen in 2 months. And it looks like the BBC is already putting down guidelines so they can get regular filming back, but at the same time, they're going to observe some safety protocols to make sure everybody stays safe. And the thing is, I can't figure it out either because it's like, you know who's going to be on set. You know which crew members are going to be there. Sure, you're not going to be able to have as much interaction with fans as you used to, but that's part of the safety guidelines. Because as long as you know who's there, who's what, who's when, and who's doing what, you're going to be able to keep people screened. You're going to be able to do temperature checks. You know, plus you're going to have that thing shoved up your nose probably in case you feel a little sick to make sure you ain't got the COVID. You know, that thing they shove up your nose, you know, when they're tested for a respiratory infection, and they shove it up so far sometimes you can't remember math. 2 + 2 = W. Oh, yeah. So I forgot how to drive. D is that way, right? All right, so they're making plans, guys. So until we hear otherwise, no, there are no current delays scheduled or have been announced for the filming of Series 13. So take care, everyone. Have a great night. See you on the flip side. Freedom out, babies.